You're watching the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand.
Salah to settle it!
Yes, good morning, guys. Welcome back to the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand. It's me, AGT. Again, a couple of days since the last video, I had to go back to hospital to basically have this massive Hoover thing shoved down my ear canal, and then had some more drops. Now I've got this. I've got this in, but then deep in the ear, I've got this stick thing that's like keeping the canal open or something like that. So, guys, it's been the word nightmare doesn't even cover it with this ear disease, I'm going to call it, that I've had. So, here we go. Yeah. Make sure you like the video, comment with your thoughts on what we're going to talk about right now. Get the comments in. If you want to super chat your way up to the top of the comments queue, then that is something that you can do for me and you. It helps. It goes back to the channel. We put it into buying studio time, etc., making more content for you. But right, I can see a few of you are locked in already. So make sure before we even get anywhere that you are pressing that like button and you are subscribing to the Kop TV. Right? I'm not asking for much. I'm asking for a little subscribe button if you haven't already. It does help. Right, let's get into this one then. On the radar, as you know, the transfer show here on the Kop TV. The Saudis need to relax, right? Everyone just relax a little bit, right? In one window, you're not going to be taking our captain, our holding defensive midfielder, and Luis Diaz. It's just not going to happen. Liverpool will not happen. However, the question I have to you, after we learned last night the Saudis' interest in Luis Diaz is real, the question I'm asking you is, one, would you allow him to go? I'm assuming the answer for everyone is no, right? There's just no way, and Liverpool have no intention to sell either. However, the question is, if the right offer came in, how much would you accept for Luchito Diaz? T-shirts still available, by the way, on the Shopify, the Luchito's Way T-shirts. Thought I'd get that in there. But as we know, they've already tried to get Jordan Henderson. They're still trying. Al Ettifaq is still trying to agree terms. Well, they have agreed terms. It's just the rest of the fee that they need to sort out. But as we know, Fabinho is on his way over there as well. But Al Hilal, according to Paul Joyce, and Pepe Sierra, who is again a Colombian journalist who's worked alongside Paul Joyce in the past, he says that he is the latest. Diaz is the latest Liverpool player to have attracted interest from Saudi Arabia. The tweet says this: the interest of Al Hilal in Luis Diaz, 26 years old, is real. However, no offer has come to Liverpool, but at the moment, the club has no intention to sell the player. The info here is with Paul Joyce. In addition, the Reds consider that 50 million would be a very, very low offer for him. Don't forget, we signed him for around about that fee in 2022, not even 2 years ago. You know, he's been injured for half of that time as well. We love Luchito. We want him to start every game in the Premier League next season. And there's just no way that Liverpool would want him to go at such a decisive part in the season. Let's not forget, if he goes, we're starting to run out of attackers, right? We've got a very thin squad. He only joined 18 months ago for a fee just shy of 50. But there's just no way, right? There is just no way that Luis Diaz, in my opinion, leaves Liverpool this summer. But again, if there was a price that came in, how much would you want for it, right? We're seeing big up Alex, good morning message from Rosie there, shout out to you. Walvick wants 120 million, 40-year-old Virgil 120, anything above 85 million for Diaz. There's zero chance of Diaz going to Saudi. We just gave him the number 7. Can you imagine giving him the number 7 and then he leaves as well? And listen, if the Saudi thing is a real aspiration for some players, you're 26, bro. And I'm not saying here that Luis Diaz's head has been turned, but let's just realize that you need to be playing in Europe for the pinnacle, the peak years of your career. And you're only 26. Why not be able to go there at 30, 33, even 35, 36, 37? There's just no need to be going there this early. But again, as MK says, they're offering massive wages to players, but the clubs are unwilling to sell because the problem's in the future. I've also heard reports, by the way, that all these Saudi clubs have been fined or been reprimanded for not being able to pay the players on time or in full. You don't want unhappy players in your team, but you also don't want to lose your stars. No, not any amount of money for Diaz, says Steve-O. Shout out to you. And Alex, are you expecting any deals to be done with this week? I mean, obviously we're going to buy another midfielder. Obviously we need to buy a centre-back as well. So the way Liverpool have moved in the last few windows with Thiago, with Jota, even with Szoboszlai, to be honest, all of them really have come out of nothing and gathered massive pace in 3 or 4 days. So I guess unless you hear anything super concrete, then again, as we know, deals can just pop out of the woodwork whenever. So, that's the question. It's a good question from Rosie, but am I expecting deals to be done this week? No. Considering there's around about 5 to 6 weeks of the transfer window left, it shuts on September the 1st, which is also the day that Liverpool find out their group stage for the Europa League, by the way. But am I expecting deals to be done this week? No. Speaking of midfielders, again, the fans realised that another midfielder is needed, considering that Fabinho and Henderson look to be on their way. I wanted to ask you guys this, and Dennis Mann's reminded me of it perfectly here. We're going to raid Bayern Munich for some midfielders. We did see yesterday that apparently Kimmich and Goretzka both available. We're also hearing Pavard might be on his way out again. City with Walker probably going to Bayern Munich. Pavard, does he go to City to be their right back, or do we buy another right back to back up Trent Alexander-Arnold? That's the main question. But Kimmich and also Goretzka in the mix for leaving Liverpool, for leaving Bayern Munich. So again, the question that I ask on every one of these streams is which midfielders are likely to come to Liverpool. Now, we've gone through the list, haven't we? Gabby Veiga, unrealistic. Tchouaméni, definitely now unrealistic. Valverde, unrealistic. Gravenberch, unrealistic. Sofiane Amrabat, is that one even a real link, or was it just to fill paper columns? The other day we saw Calvin Phillips, we saw other players get linked. Palhinha, Florentino Luis. Trying to think of some more that we've been linked with. Jude Bellingham, obviously. But all these guys, you've not really seen. Manu Kone, Kefran Turan, we've seen so many of them linked. But at this stage, I could not tell you who's most likely, who's most realistic. I actually could not tell you because, again, the way Liverpool move in this window, it's very up and down. It's very much out of the blue, and then it gets confirmed 2 or 3 days later. But I couldn't tell you who is realistic at this stage just because there's been so many names linked. Are we witnessing, says Just Dave, the beginning of the end of the Premier League with all the best players from all the clubs going to the Saudi Pro League? Well, listen, just get a quick glass of water. I wouldn't say we're witnessing the beginning of the end because that would be a really dark day. But now it's becoming unavoidable, right? It's the massive elephant in the room that isn't a secret anymore. We know the money available. We know the lure that money can offer. Ruben Neves the other day was super honest in his interview after moving to the Saudi Pro League. He said, look, I can now set up not only my kids, my grandkids, their kids. It's generational wealth that we're talking about now. Because when you sign a deal to go over there in your mid-20s, like Neves has at 26, we're looking at maybe 10 million, 20 million a year that he's going to be earning. Tax-free as well, by the way, which is basically like 40 million if it's 20 mil because of the no tax that you're paying on it. So I think it's now becoming unavoidable. I mean, it would take a lot. It would literally take Haaland, Salah, De Bruyne, Alisson, the top 10 players in the Premier League to all go to the Saudi League. And then we'd be saying, what's happened to that Premier League? But at the minute, I don't think it's the beginning of the end. I think we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Listen, there's going to be a lot more eyes naturally on the Saudi Pro League next season. I think I'll be watching a few games as well to see how Bobby gets on, to see how Fabinho gets on. But I don't think this is the beginning of the end. We'll have to see, right? Again, we'll have time will tell. Saudis don't pay big transfer fees. What's the max they've paid for a player so far? Well, again, if you're looking at Fabinho, how many have you seen that go for more than him? Again, it's not 100% totally confirmed with Fabinho yet, but we are looking at around about 40 million pounds. Again, very close. That one for Al Ittihad. Fabinho is closing in on a 40 million pound move to Al Ittihad. This is from This Is Anfield, and we know Henderson has already agreed terms to join Stevie G at Al Ettifaq. However, have you really seen a transfer go to the Saudi League for more than 40 million? I might be very wrong. I could easily be very wrong. But please let me know in the comments if you do believe that I am wrong there, and let me know in due time with who it has been as well. Kimmich would be the perfect fit for Liverpool, says Wolvik. Shout out to you again. Very versatile player, has played at right back, has played in central midfield, has captained Bayern Munich, has captained Germany, a good young age, almost like the modern day Philip Lahm, I would say, with Joshua Kimmich. MK reminding us that Kimmich and Goretzka are both great players, but we need a real DM, right? They are very attacking and ideally need a DM behind them at Munich, hence the interest in Rice. I'm not sure we're getting him as he's officially signed for Arsenal now. I go along with this opinion with Rosie. I don't think he is as good as maybe people think. Yes, he had a great World Cup out in Qatar. I saw him play myself for Morocco. You know, got to a semi-final, no less. Unbelievable in terms of the legacy, the memories that now the Moroccan football team have got for that World Cup. And yes, he was fighting every game for his country. I understand that. But for me personally, I wanted to see a bit more of him when he got back from the World Cup with Fiorentina. I didn't really see that. I didn't really hear about him pulling up trees. So to start as a CDM for Liverpool, I think we go a little bit above Amrabat. Again, he's been touted around to all the top teams, right? I've heard him linked with Manchester United. I even saw Robbie yesterday doing a video about Sofiane yesterday on AFTV. So again, he's been passed around, but who will actually buy him? It's guaranteed that he will leave, but who gets him? And does he prove Liverpool fans wrong if he does go somewhere else? Would we actually see a side of him that maybe we wanted? But again, there's actually not many players out there that I can list to you now that could come in like that and be a CDM, right? Let's not forget to be that destroyer in the middle. Again, not always the case. You look at Kante, you look at Florentino Luis, you look at Makalele, these kind of guys. The Fabinho lighthouse, controlling role that we've had in the last 5 years, I think has definitely been aided by his physical presence. 6'3", difficult to get round. Obviously, last season, and especially in the first half of the season, not so difficult to get around. But let's not forget, guys, the last 10 to 12 games of the season, Fabinho was one of our best players. He really did step it up in terms of level of performance, in terms of endurance. His legs looked a little bit better. Now, I am saying that, his legs were on the way out, so that's why that we sell him for a great price and move on. But at the same time, you need a destroyer to come into that role and be super confident and become that Fabinho from 2018 to 2020, really, in terms of being just an absolute beast in the middle, a wall. Can Florentino Luis do that? I mean, Tchouameni would be fantastic in that role, but again, he's come out on Twitter and said he's not for sale. So there's a few things to think about. I can't really give you off the top of my head now a guy that could come in and impress us as much as Fabinho did in those 2 years. There's not many CDMs out there. You look at the Rodris, you look at even someone like a Matic, obviously well past it now, legs are gone. But someone like a Matic, where's the next Matic? Where's the next Fabinho? Where's the next Rodri? Stefan Bajcetic, he's obviously going to grow a lot more. He's only 18. Physically, he'll get taller. Should get stockier this season as well. Hopefully, he's in the gym. Could he be that guy going forward? Again, it's a massive question that you've got to ask yourself, because if he isn't going forward, then again, we've got to buy someone now. But this is really the question that I can't answer, Dennis, man. Great name. It's one of those questions that, we've all got unrealistic names that we're putting forward. But in terms of the ideal replacements, I can't give you them because they're just not realistic at this stage, right? To be fair, I think they will fail like China, says Valvik. The Saudi League will not survive because you need sponsorship deals worldwide. Footballers are already on life-changing wages. We know, but it's all relative. If you're on, £4 million a year in England, after tax, you're probably getting about 2 million. And after your bills, you're probably seeing maybe 1.2. So, which again, you're a multi-millionaire, right? You're already on life-changing wages. But if someone comes in and says, "Oh, you're on 5 mil a year," that's cute. Do you want 70? And if you say yes to that, you're looking at tax-free. Geordie Toon for Life says the players only get tax-free for 2 years. Let's see who stays after 2 years are up, and you must stay for the 2 years for tax-free money. I mean, if you want to do a little 2-year stint there and take your money and run, then fair enough. No one's having a go at you for that. I think most people in the same situation would do the same, right? Quote off Ian Doyle this morning says LFC today, the possible departure of Fabinho may force LFC to completely rethink their transfer approach or choose to risk potential short-term pain for long-term gain. That's Ian Doyle this morning. Not the wages, but not the fees, but the wages that are turning heads, and the coaches don't like to work with players who'd rather be somewhere else, as we know. Munich's interest in Rice. There you go. Yeah, they were interested in him because they know that the Goretzka-Kimmich double pivot has not worked recently. I mean, listen, they still just won the league. They had to do it very late on in the season, on the last kind of 20 minutes in the last game against, is it Mainz? I'm not too sure, but not the best season for Bayern, especially in Europe as well. Any latest on the summer transfer window? As you know, AGT, it's only 3 weeks before the EPL kicks off again, says Remy. Yeah, I mean, 26 days, I think it is. So 3.5, 4 weeks till the league kicks off again, which sounds like a long time, Remy. It sounds like we've got all the time in the world. But when you actually break down, we've got a game today in Germany, right? I think there's 5 games in the next 3 weeks. If we look at McAllister and Szoboszlai right now, really settling in. Jurgen's loving watching them in training. It's beautiful to see. But if you leave this third midfielder out now until maybe in 2 weeks' time, does that give them, and that role, as we know, that CDM role is so demanding, right? You need to be at your top every single game, like every player does, but in that position especially, it's a kind of player that can deal with that constant battling, constant tackling, constant heading, a lot of yellow cards as we saw last season. So if a player does come in and only gets a week's pre-season, is that enough to send them into what is going to be a grueling season ahead, especially with Europe as well, right? So again, 3.5, 4 weeks till the season starts, but until that third name comes in, I'm not totally relaxed. And again, we still need a centre-back, right? So still a lot to be done in this transfer window. There's 85 of you watching right now, so remember, smash that like button if you've just joined us and comment with your thoughts on, again, who is the Hendo Milner, the Fab replacement, right? It's a starter that we're looking for. Shout out to Remy, who says, love your videos on the show for a while right now, AGT. How is the lineup coming for today's pre-season fixtures in Germany? Again, I think that one kicks off at 5:30 today, so we might do a little video after that for you. But at the same time, it's difficult to actually call these lineups because who knows? Who actually knows, right? There's so many options out there. There are so many times where you're looking at preseason games and you've just got absolutely no idea in terms of lineups, in terms of names that are going to come in. So I couldn't even tell you who's going to start today. Listen, it would be beautiful to see McAllister and Szoboszlai on the ball in that red shirt, pinging it about, having shots on goal. I would love that. I would get a big buzz off of that. But again, there's so many players in this squad. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a strong lineup. I wouldn't be surprised if he mix it up. And I wouldn't also be surprised if it's full of the kids, essentially, right? So who knows, mate? There's absolutely no way to tell. Caicedo is just not realistic. I mean, let's say we did sell Luis Diaz for 85 million. Do we go in for Caicedo? I'm not too sure. Lavia as well. These are the two that MK wants, Lavia and Kone. Again, Lavia is another one. Those kind of rumors, those circulating tweets about Lavia have kind of dropped off a little bit, have they not? In kind of the last week. Really strong links, Hey guys, sorry about that. I'm not too sure what actually happened there. Let's get to the mic. I apologize for that. Camera just unplugged for no reason. Not gone, still back. Houdini mode. You have just disappeared. I did. But listen, I'm back. I am back. Stop effing about and get Kone and Thuram, says the 40-year-old Virgil. The two Bundesliga starts next week, so they should be ready. Hopefully a fun game to watch. It will be a game of substitutions. Two halves, multiple substitutions at half time from Keegan 773. Very, very good prediction skills there, my friend. It will be a game of two halves and there will be multiple substitutions. Brutal, it was. Right, we need an experienced midfielder, Verratti, Kimmich. There was also Barella rumours again this morning. Again, how many times can you be, enticed in with the name that just isn't realistic, right? We've got to actually think about how realistic these names are when we're just blurting them out, because there's no point in getting excited, right? Look at the extreme of that in Jude Bellingham. It just didn't happen for us, right? But again, Palhinha, 28 years old. You've got Ryan Gravenberch, 21 years old. 19-year-old Romeo Lavia. Czech Decore has been another one linked recently. How would you feel about Czech Decore coming into the to the Liverpool team? Czech Decore has been playing for Crystal Palace very well in that kind of destroyer position. Is he someone that interests you? Premier League experience again, Decore. Again, linked with Liverpool very, very recently. 23 years old, signed from Palace by Lens last summer. And he was actually the player of the year for Crystal Palace last season as well. So how do you think about that? Check Decore. Let us know in the comments if you believe that one is going to happen. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, as we know, midfielders have come into the club. We're still waiting for one more. But as we know, centre-backs are on the cards as well. Now, Levi Colwill, right, has come through the Chelsea Academy. He was on loan at Brighton last year. I've seen people like Anton Ferdinand claim for him to be the best centre-back he's seen since Rio Ferdinand. We're talking about a Rolls-Royce defender. We're talking about a young English defender as well. Strong, physical, quick. Got all the attributes that you would need to take it right to the top level. He's now back at Chelsea because the loan has expired. We've seen Brighton go in for £65 million bid, which has been rejected, by the way. Now, not that I thought this deal was ever a massive goer anyway. I know Chelsea were kind of massively perturbed by the fact that Jurgen Klopp has spoke to Levi on the phone. We know that Chelsea are maybe looking to report Liverpool for tapping up, which is quite rich coming from them. Moral FC, right? All their morals have gone way out the window in 2003-04. But anyway, Levi Colwill wants to move to Liverpool, right? There's no secret. We've seen him on Instagram Live, refused to comment on rumours to Liverpool. We've seen him being touted about by the biggest clubs, and he wants the Liverpool move, right? He said in interviews in the past, he used to have Stevie G posters up everywhere. He's saying that he watched Liverpool growing up. He was a massive fan. He was inspired by Stevie G, which is all great. But I don't think we were going to get him. And now that Fofana has broken his ACL, I mean, I've heard of tearing ACLs, but breaking your ACL, bless him. Like, listen, guys, we don't want to wish injury upon anyone, but I think he's had 7 knee injuries by the age of 22, Fofana. He was out for the whole of last season, last year, and it looks like he'll be out for the whole of next season as well with this ACL injury. So you have to feel for the kid. But that has now forced Chelsea's hand into keeping him. If they were going to sell him before, for what, 80 million, I would say. They wouldn't have accepted anything less than that. If they were going to do that before, even though I don't think that was unlikely, I think that was likely at all. If they were going to do that, then they certainly will not be doing that now, considering that the big man is going to have to run in and be cover for Fofana. He probably will start against Liverpool, by the way, in the first game of the season. So that move has to be off now. Any little chance that move had in terms of Klopp linking up with Colwill, where they've had that chat, as we know, that has to now be null and voided almost, because again, that just is not going to happen when you consider the injuries that they are dealing with right now. So it isn't going to happen unless that one happens in the future, as Rosie says here. I just don't think it's going to happen. They're probably on a contract until 2031. You know, that's how Chelsea move. Fringe at the bridge. Kimmich says Erwin Smith. And LFC Today says it's realistic for me to think that FSG have convinced a large part of our fan base that we are broke. We are far from it. They will have no problem getting a loan to expand the Kop. I bet. Let's not forget they're also spending 1.2 billion on their other sporting franchise team. I heard very recently yesterday as well. So they do have money, and I don't think you can say that that's got anything to do with us not paying for Colwill. I mean, realistically, I think the most ardent Liverpool fan wouldn't want us to pay for 80, 90 million for Colwill, really. You know, if we could have got him for a 30 or a 40, I think, yeah, homegrown player, young, Liverpool fan almost, you know, got everything in the bank in terms of future-proofing himself. Could be an England international very shortly as well. And that would have all made sense. But to be pressured, to be forced to go into the 80s, the 90s, it's just not our way. I mean, listen, Jarell Quensah in the under 23s for Liverpool. I'm liking the look of him. Again, exactly the same kind of physical demeanor as a Colwill, as a Van Dijk. He's only 18 or 19, I think. A massive frame, quick, strong, captain for the under 23s last season. Are we going to see him? I wouldn't actually be surprised if he starts tonight, Quensah. So again, you know, is he the centre-back that we're looking for? And if we don't get him, with Mickey van der Ven going to Tottenham, as we heard a couple of weeks ago, do you think now that, well, I'll ask you the question, which centre-back should we be going for, right? AGT, what two signings can strengthen us? I'm going to go two realistic ones. It's hard to give you a realistic centre-back. It really is, because, again, okay, there's that kid from Monaco, the captain of Monaco, who I'm liking the look of. But I would say Lavia. I would say Lavia would strengthen us. I would say that he has the legs to absolutely run for days in that middle to fight. But again, I can't really give you a realistic centre-back option unless you can. Please get the likes up, people. As we know, 105 of you in the chat right now. I agree, mate. Chelsea, it is rich of Chelsea, but Klopp has got to stop talking to players. Like, this is becoming a joke now, says Rai1. Okay, well, let me ask you all again, right? If you're watching this live or if you're watching this, you know, after it's finished. The Saudis want Diaz, right? If there was a price that you could put on his head, how much would it be for Luis Diaz? And looks like the Levi Colwill move is off, as we know, because of that injury for Fofana, and I don't think it was ever realistic. Again, listen, there's so many times, right, when, you know, Klopp has spoken to a player, we've been linked with a player. It would be great. They want to come, they're fans of the club or whatever, but then all of a sudden it just doesn't happen because at the end of the day, the money is too much, and Liverpool just will not pay 100 million or 90 million or 85 million for Levi Colwill after Chelsea have rejected 65 million plus add-ons for him from Brighton as well. So Luis Diaz, he's not going to go. There's no way he gets the number 7 and goes this summer. But at the same time, if he does go, how much would you want for him? And let's say in a hypothetical world, we did get 150 for him or some mad money like that. Who would you actually want to spend that money on? Caicedo, not realistic for me. Thomas Lingard, big up to you, my friend. He says 200 mil, no less. 150 mil, 100 mil, at least 100 plus. If Mudryk is 100, then Diaz is 200, lad. Shout out to Tom. And again, when you are comparing it to the likes of Mudryk, to the likes of Enzo, then Luis Diaz does have a massive, massive fee on his head. But there's no way he goes, people. There's just no way he goes. And then the second question is, right, in that center defensive position, who is out there? Who do you want? Right? If you can even name me 3, and I'm not talking about the Vardios, I'm not talking about these kind of guys. I want 3 realistic options, because the scouting team at Liverpool, you could have to expect, is absolutely going mad right now, trying to find the next people to come in. Packet a monster munch. This is Anthony as well. I actually am in the mood for a little monster munch. You might have made me want those, actually. So big up to you. But the questions I'm leaving you on now: if Luis Diaz does go to Saudi, how much would you want for him? Who would you want us to buy if we do get that money? And then the centre backs. Who are the realistic options now that the Colwill move is off? We're also linked today with Czech Kouyaté from Crystal Palace, the 23-year-old Mali international who was the player of the season for Palace last year, has now been linked. Again, Palace fans know how much money Liverpool have supposedly got, so they're not going to want anything less than 50, 60 as well. Guehi, Ignacio, Van der Ven, AGT. Why not go and get Pavard? He can play central and wide. This is true. 27, 28 years of age, though. For centre-back, why don't we try and get Medina from Lens? Again, that's the team that actually Czech Kouyaté came from, to Crystal Palace. Would you take Kane? Of course I would. Silly question. But there are all the questions that I'm going to ask you. Again, Malik, Thiaw and Bella Kotchap being mentioned by MK as well. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments. Don't forget, we've got a game tonight at 5:30. I'll be letting you know how we get on with that. And looking ahead in the week, we'll have more, won't we? We'll have more on the radars. I'll be back in London in the studio on Friday as well. And then in the next couple of weeks, guys, the season really is going to start ramping up. I'm actually going to do a great video next week with Tegan. Because I know she wants to get more involved in the Kop TV. She knows a lot more about Liverpool than you'd think. So I'm going to do a little quiz video of her next week. So that'll be fun. There'll be a forfeit as well. And then the Hot Copics podcast will be back, people. Myself and Mario will be back in that studio, as always, going into the new season. So really looking forward to that. And loads more bits and bobs. And of course, anything that does happen and is confirmed, we'll have it for you here on the Kop TV. I'm sorry about the little technical area in the middle of the show there, but these things happen. You know, you can't get around them. So guys, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you comment with your thoughts and your answers to the questions that I've just given you. And of course, subscribe to the Kop TV. It's a great time to do so. Amazing content coming up. And if you don't do anything today, please, as a favor for me, just press that subscribe button. That would be great. Guys, thank you so much. Leave your comments and thoughts below. Take care.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Please, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.